Good evening, everyone. Today, in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I will try to give you a brief overview of the UCAT exam, which forms a very important part of the UK based medical school entrance, whether your children are getting graduated within UK or elsewhere. UCAT stands for University Clinical Aptitude Test. Admission test for both medical and dental degree programs. Of course, how the dental school use this course is entirely different. It's a computer based exam. It's used by UK and also some worldwide universities as a part of the selection process. As I said, the scores are quite differently used by different universities. Not only some universities may prefer a higher score, some universities may give very less weightage or more weightage to UCAT. If you have to explain your children about the UCAT experience, you can quote the Life in UK or the Part 1 driving test which you may have taken. It happens in the exactly same Pearson test as of now, and in future things may be slightly different. Next slide, please. So in UCAT, 5 domains are tested. None of these domains have a direct relation with your child's A-level school curriculum. Say, for example, I am a consultant. If I have a junior doctor with me, I want the junior doctor to be very bright, very good in absorbing, very good in lateral thinking, very good in understanding even the things which we are not explicitly saying. That is the main thing or objective of this UCAT test. And it's very easy to quantify a student suitability for medical test by using the A-level exam, which tests the biology, chemistry, or any other third subject which your children may have taken. And also the other things like personal statement, which tells them about their interest in the medical subject and their workplace experience, etc. Sometimes few of the children are doing the EPQ, which tests the research ability. But UCAT tests a different part of your child's brain where the sharpness, applying the knowledge in a very quick time, and lateral out of box thinking. So they use 5 sections to measure the UCAT qualification of your child. As mentioned here, you can see that quantitative reasoning, decision making, verbal reasoning, abstract reasoning, situational judgment. I will take few minutes to explaining the every subsection. If you see the questions and the minutes available, that's where the whole crux of this exam falls in. The questions outnumber the minutes, which means indirectly sometime the students may have to write 2 or 3 questions in 1 minute. That will happen only if the child has got a inherent inbuilt knowledge by practice. It's very difficult to answer the questions on the spot if they don't have enough practice. That's the main reason this way to med school plays a key role in taking your child who can do these questions correctly to how to do these questions in an appropriate time frame without any mistakes. And even though it's like, for example, qualitative reasoning is 44 questions, every 4 questions has got a common theme. So in essence, it's 11 theme. And if you understand one theme, answering 4 questions will be more rapid and fast. And the results will be available immediately, just like your Life in UK test or the driving exam tests. Next slide, please. So there are 5 stages in the preparation. Again, this is just an overall guidance to help the aspirant and also the parents to get an idea about, okay, I want to do UCAT, so where can I start, how I can progress, etc. The first stage is to learn the concepts. Lot of children. Okay, please keep yourself muted. So the first child is learning the concepts. What are the 5 domains? What type of questions comes in each domains? What is the aim of the domain? If you know the aim of the domain, you can prepare for it so that it will be easier for you to answer similar questions. Sometimes you may be doing, or I mean, your children may be doing thousands of questions in actual exam. From what they have studied, the exact question repetition is only like 10% or even 5%. But they were able to do well because that question helps them to answer the similar question. So you should know the concepts, what are all the curriculum, and what needs to be covered in these 5 domains of the UCAT, 5 categories of the UCAT. And then the practice. It's not like some countries entrance exams where you will be getting a medical school if you are scoring something like 200 out of 200. If you are scoring 199, you may get. If you are scoring 198, difficult. If you are scoring 197, impossible. It's not like that. Here, literally the sky is the limit. It's very, very difficult, or I will say it's impossible to score 100% mark. So that gives your child a very good chance to play the game as best as possible, rather than worried about oh, I should get the full, I should get as much, something like that. You need to do as best as possible to get the best score. The best score in UCAT, say for example something more than 3000, will not only give you a certain place in a medical school, it also gives you a better medical school which you are aspiring for. So practice is very important and there is no limit to that. The only way you can reduce your time in practice is if you want to develop your personal statement, EPQ, or other school related activities. And timed mock exams. As I said, nobody can score full 100% mark in these exams. So the timed mark exams gives the children a very good idea where they stand, because the timed mock exams will give all the 5 categories tested in the real 2-hour scenario. So they know where is the lacunae, they can calculate and they can focus on it in the next steps. Yes, the difficult parts. The timed mock test will give us where and what is the difficult scenarios, and so that you can focus on them, you can clarify with us, and then you can get the best out of the difficult parts also. And I will also mention about what to do in the exam day. The total time needed is entirely dependent on the individual. I've spoken to many previous UCAT successful students and also those who had some challenges and unfortunately not so good marks. I've seen some students who are quite good and just spent 6 weeks to 8 weeks and got a beautiful mark. I've seen some people who are really spent worthful time for 4 months but didn't got the marks what they are expecting. So the time is entirely individual. If you are a candidate who required to do hard work, you need to do the hard work. Next slide, please. So how to know the concepts? As I said, this itself will take easily 3 to 4 weeks. Lots of your own work, because you know what is the curriculum and most of the time you can do your own searching and getting the resources, etc. If you are good in school, if you are good in day-to-day learning, this learning the concepts will go very easy as your normal habit. Use as many different types of resources, because except the actual UCAT website's resources, all other resources are only supportive. Only the UCAT website resource is the main resource which you can depend on to get the real feel of the exam questions. We in Way to Med School will try to cover everything, all types of questions, all the 5 categories, focus on a particular student's weakness, etc. You will need more sessions if you are entirely dependent on us, or if you need to work a lot as a team. But if you are a very self-studying student, you may not need more sessions. So we need to tailor the number of sessions you need entirely as an individual basis. Next slide, please. As I said, practice. This will take another 3 weeks of literal slogging based upon the concepts and your own curriculum which you have formulated in the first 3 weeks of concepts. Focus on all the 5 sections. If you are doing abstract learning, for example, after second day your brain will literally burn because it's such a very high intensity exercise. So after 2 days, give a break, go to verbal reasoning, give a break, go to situational judgment. Situational judgment is like a storytelling, lots of situational scenarios. So if you change these sections within these 5 every third or fourth day. That gives a brain a good freshness, and then you won't get mental fatigue. Improve in all the sections equally. Don't take one section like abstract reasoning, I'm not good in that. Don't put it into a later date and do all the 4 sections and try to just cramp up abstract reasoning like few days before the exam or something like that. You will not get good marks if you are not focusing on all the 5 sections. In fact, if there is a challenging sections, you should be able to focus those sections quite early rather than leaving it quite closer to the exam. When you're sitting and reading, you should be able to sit at least 2 hours in continuum. The reason is the actual exam is a 2-hour duration. So your brain should be used to work for the 2 hours without getting tiredness. So whenever you sit evening, afternoon, because summer holiday is coming, sky is the limit, you can learn 24 hours a day. So make sure you sit at least 2 hours in continuum without any break. And don't worry about the actual speed and timings initially in this practice stage, because your aim is to get the concepts. That's the main thing. You should be able to reach 75 to 85% accuracy in your questions. First, good answering, getting the answers correctly, accurately is the main aim. And the next aim is to how to reach the accuracy in speed and shorter time. That will be your second stage. There is no point in increasing the speed but getting all the wrong answers, where you will be doing the entire question paper again, which is of not much useful to you. Have a good sleep. You all know there is a cycle known as circadian rhythm in our body. So every day sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time. Say for example, I think most of you may have already booked the exam. If your exam is like 8:30 to 10:30 on a day, you can't do late night reading and getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning throughout the summer holidays and trying to do the 8:30 to 10:30 exam. If your exam is 8:30 to 10:30, you should get up at least 6 o'clock every day, have a shower, do your whatever prayer or exercise, whatever your daily routine, and try to be on the table at 6:30, at 8:30 to 10:30, and never do anything other than UCAT preparation in those 2 hours. Some of you may have exam in the afternoon, say 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Don't have an afternoon nap every day in the summer and try to do the exam well. You will be having a very slow and slumber feeling during the exam time. And review your answers. If a certain pattern of answers you're getting quite correctly again and again, omit them, because you know that you are quite strong in that, you will be answering it correctly in the exam. If there is a pattern of answers or questions which you struggle, try to focus more on them. Okay, and find your mistake pattern. That's where the tutors also can help you a lot. And it should be a systematic improvement. All the 5 areas you should systematically improve without leaving any loopholes. Next slide please. And then the timed mock exams are very important. As I said, the main difference between the UCAT and other general exams are UCAT is very, very, very time bound. As I said, say for example, if I am a consultant doing a ward rounds, I want my juniors to get the input from me quickly and then execute. I don't want them to be very slow in absorbing what I'm saying. So to become a good doctor, you should be able to absorb things quickly and then do some lateral thinking and work in a very high level atmosphere. That's very important. A timed mock exams, almost you need like 2 weeks. You can do mock exam even twice in a day or once in 2 days. UCAT mock exams are very precious because they are exactly the resemblance of the UCAT exam. So there are 4 exams and use it very preciously. Do initial 2 to know your weaknesses and save the last 2 to get your real strength and confidence. And of course, we can also help with mock test exams. And practice in the computer screen. And if you don't have, borrow from your friends a computer screen with a keyboard and a mouse, because that's how the exam is. And also the calculator in the screen you should be using. Don't use your phone calculator, then migrating to the computer based calculator will be slightly challenging. Use the mouse, keyboard and calculator in the screen, and also have a paper and pen or whiteboard and a marker pen, something like that. And do more mocks close to the exam. In total, a good student who is planning to get easy 3000 or 3100 marks should have done at least 10 to 15 mock tests. Next slide please. and then ace the difficult parts. That's very important. Every child or a student will be having some difficult parts. If the difficult parts are not addressed and just practicing on their own without any mentorship, they will end up getting something around 2700 to 2800 if they really work very, very hard, because they are leaving the important difficult areas. But it's a shame, isn't it? So those difficult areas, if there is a good mentorship available, that 2800 or 700 can be easily changed to a very confident 3000, 3100. That's the main aim of our way to mid school. The hard work will be from them, but we are here to ace the difficult parts. It will be a very focused training. It will be involving lots of memorizing the formulas, and in the difficult parts, don't worry about the score. Learn with an idea to know the concept, and during those difficult parts training, you should have a good food, hydration. Think that you're signing up a lifetime for a very high speed life and high potential doctor, so you should prepare well. The UCAT will really shape you for that. And UCAT website questions are really difficult compared to other websites. So but UCAT website questions are the real resemblance of the exam, so you should keep up with that one. And that's very important in that. Next slide, please. On the exam day, again, food and hydration are very important. Never go to the exam in empty stomach. It is not useful. Your brain needs glucose. The brain normally in rest uses 20% of our energy. During the exam, believe me, 90% of the energy will be only in the brain. Remaining 10% is just to fingers to type the correct answer. And just visit the exam venue maybe 1 week before, just to know where is the entrance, etc. You won't be permitted to get in anyway. And keep your ID ready, and prepare as if you are prepared for your GCSE exams. Know the keyboard shortcuts, like for example, Alt C will open the calculator, Alt N will go to the next question, Alt F means it will flag the question. That will save some microseconds, and you don't have to use your mouse for every time. And actually in the exam there is a timer on the right side, so keep an eye on that. You should know that how are you progressing. And if you are doing well, the maximum score theoretically is 3600, but as I said, it is impossible for anybody to score 3600 because of the time. If the same question paper is given to people, hundreds of people can score 3600 because the questions are all answerable questions, but it's very difficult to do it in the 2 hours time. And situational judgment is marked differently. It will be like a band 1 to band 4, excellent to low performance. Next slide, please. What we offer is an expert support and mentoring, and we don't give fish, but we will teach the children how to do the fishing and how to get the fish on their own. What we mean is, we are not spoon feeding. We are not here to say that this is the question, this is the answer. Have you done with that? Okay, this is the question, this is the answer. We are not that mentorship. We will give a question. We will tell them how to answer it. We will spend enough time to make sure that the child will be answering similar questions also. So that completes a big chunk of curriculum in that one question itself. Say, for example, there will be a lot of small tips. For example, in situational judgment, usually there will be a statement. I will complete my talk with an example. You are a junior doctor. You come across a consultant who has attended the hospital clinic, but he smells alcohol. Obviously, he had alcohol. So what will you do? Let's say that's an example question. There are 4 options. Usually in situation judgment, the first 2 options are, I will never accept it, I will accept it. And then the other 2 will be like, I will omit it, I will never omit it. It's like that. So there will be 2 positive answers, 2 negative answers. In the positive answers, it will be like too much of positive, like almost 100%, and less positive, like almost 50 to 70%. And negative answers, there will be less negative answer, like almost 10%, and absolutely no answer, which is like 0%. Sometimes it's easy for a student to say it's wrong, it's correct. The 2 you can decide, but deciding within that whether it's absolutely wrong or it's relatively wrong is a very difficult one. In situational judgment, actually, if the child is able to answer within that 1 and 2 correctly, they will get some mark. But if they are able to answer the one of it very absolutely correct as per the exam panel, they will get a full mark. That's why situational judgment is not given by marks, it is given into just four main groups. As long as you read the curriculum correctly, you know the good medical practice, you know the few GMC publications which we will be coaching, you will be able to understand that. And the important thing is, weaves are not your weaves. You should think as if what the experts are thinking, what is the correctness from the GMC's point of view. Your thought process should be slightly different. Similarly, for qualitative analysis or verbal reasoning, you're not supposed to bring your own ideas. Your answer should be entirely based upon the question's main statements, and don't bring your own ideas into the answer. And your answer should be nicely substantiated by the question. I'm sure those who are already start preparing will understand what is happening. It will be nice if we have our present student who is having a one-to-one tuition, Miss Abra, online, so that she can share what is her experience in this way to med school teaching, and then we can go for the next sections.
Hi, I'm Abra. I'm a Year 12 student and I want to apply to medicine. So I've already started this UCAT course with my tutor, Dr. Anand, and I'm finding it very helpful as going over the questions I find most difficult allows me to master the 5 different sections with ease. So far, I've had 3 lessons, each an hour long, and we go over the different techniques that I should use to ace the exam. So Dr. Anand was willing to teach me in differing ways, like going through each section one by one, or by me just sending him the questions I don't understand at all. I thought the second option of me doing the most difficult and challenging questions would be the most beneficial, as I am confident in some areas. So without wasting time, we jumped right into it. And after every lesson, he ensures to send me summaries of the key ideas, the concepts, and the overall patterns that I should look for during the actual exam. So now, honestly, my confidence has increased by quite a lot. And I'm sure that as we do more and more sessions, I'll be fully prepared. So Dr. Anand also let me know that the last week will be filled with mock exams fully. So any last minute questions that I have or any techniques that I'm struggling on, we'll go over those for me to score highly in the UCAT. So I'd recommend these tutoring sessions to anyone doing the UCAT. And as you don't just see yourself getting better and better at the various question types, but your confidence also shoots up. And I think that's very important in a very time pressured exam like the UCAT. And a very valuable lesson that I've learned from this training course is that I tend to think one way under time pressure and another way not during time pressure. So Dr. Anand has ensured that I think more logically and like ensure that the stress is not getting to me as much. So I think these tutoring sessions are very helpful. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Abra. That's very kind of you. And so, what I have applied to Abra is, it's not my teaching method or my way to approach the UCAT curriculum. It's completely changed when I started observing her in the first class itself. So what's happening is, she's a very, very hardworking girl, because I can see that she sends me some questions which doubts something like 24 hours a day, anytime. That shows that indirectly it gives me a kind of a confidence that she's learning, she's doing some hard work at that part of the time. Having said that, she's quite good in skimming and doing a lot of hard work on her own, but she gets some difficult questions here and there. For her, the need is to help with the difficult questions. As long as I'm able to give a clue on how to answer the difficult questions, how to answer the similar questions, then she's quite happy. That finishes her curriculum and she's progressing very well. And she signed up for like 10 classes, because we have to do at least 2 classes for every section. But as I said, the number of classes depends upon the individual candidate. We will cover questions and doubts regarding the UCAT preparation in the end, and we'll go for the next section. And this one is the 2 level of courses, which is like a 1-day course which we are planning. You can see the dates in the screen. In July, we are planning Saturday 13th and Saturday 27th. In August, we are planning Saturday 3rd and Saturday 27th. So this will be a joint class with many students. We'll try to do as much of tutoring without much disturbance from the students. So students will be only more like a silent preceptors with some question and answers. In level 1, we will cover all the necessity concepts learning and why that particular section is that, what kind of thinking or analytical algorithm is tested in that particular section. That is level 1. In level 2, we will give some high level tips. Say for example, in verbal reasoning, there are 3 types of questions. Questions with small paragraph, medium paragraph and large paragraph. Small paragraph, I wish everybody to read, understand in one go. You have no time to read it second time, and then answer the questions and go further. For medium sized paragraph, it's better to read the question so that you know what areas to focus, and then read the paragraph in a skimming fashion so that you will find the answer, double check it and answer it. Large questions, for example, in the verbal reasoning, before answering, you should see the time. If you're really good in time, you have plenty of time, you are well ahead in the questions, there is nothing wrong in just going through the large paragraphs. Otherwise, you just have to flag the questions, place some answers. There is no negative mark. So you should answer all the questions, and then you may be able to come back or you may not be able to come back. In my view, there are some questions which are like a pitfalls, which will slow you down. They are purposefully kept because the child should know that this is a difficult question, I can't make it, so I can skim it, I can prioritize the other questions. So there is a quality which is checked in a very difficult question. Very difficult question, you should be able to identify early rather than spending 2 full minutes on the question and then finding that, oh no, this question is not for me, and then going forward. So those kind of high level tips we can cover in the level 2. If you want to know the level 2 tips, it's better to go for the level 1 course also, so that you know what is the basics and you know what is the advanced courses mean. Apart from these group courses on those 4 days, we are quite happy to offer the one-to-one tutoring, and one-to-one tutoring will be entirely tailored upon a particular candidate. Say for example, for Abra, she is very strong in situational judgment. In fact, she is on 3rd class with me, and she already said, I don't want any discussion on situational judgment because whatever she's because it's more of theory. Once she read everything and once she's answering, if she's getting good marks, there is no point in spending time on that. So we can tailor the scenarios, we can tailor the questions and what the candidate needs very easily in one-to-one tutoring. So the choice is yours. Next slide, please. We'll now discuss the other sections, and I'm quite happy for the students and parents to ask any questions in the end of today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anand, and thank you, Abra. So hello, everyone. My name's Dr. Ryan. Apologies, I've got a bit of a cold. If I sound a bit snuffly at the moment, but I hope that doesn't impact too much. So this next section is about the personal statements, and I'm sure most of you know about it already, but if you don't, it's part of the UCLAS application process. So everyone who is applying to university for 2025 entry this year, regardless of what course you want to do, has to do a personal statement. And this is no different for medicine. But now we need to think about, well, how does it apply to medicine? Is it more specific? Is it more important? So different medical schools use this personal statement differently. It's a 4,000 character kind of statement, essentially, where it's your opportunity to show off, talk about why you want to be a doctor, what skills you have, what work experience you've done, things like that. And we won't go into it too much. But you might be thinking, well, how do you know what medical school values it? How do you know how they use it? Well, I've got a few examples here. So this is taken from King's College London Medical School website. So if you can see here, you can see that they consider UCAT, personal statements, A-levels, GCSEs, all within one. They say they take it all into account. Whereas if we look at Brighton and Sussex Medical School, they quite explicitly say they do not use personal statements at any point during the admissions process. And if we look at University of Leeds, we say that personal statements is an important part of the UCAS application. So when you're looking at different universities, it's one thing to consider on how you think they're going to use it. So what do they want to see, medical schools? So obviously I'm talking about personal statement here, but I think it's important to think of the overall picture. what kind of people, what kind of students are they looking for to start medical school, to be part of their medical school? So split it into 3 domains. One is motivation. So is the student showing the motivation to be a doctor? Have they gone out and got work experience, for example? Why do they want to be a doctor? Do they have a good reason? Do they know what the NHS is about, how the healthcare system works? And do they know the realistic good and bad points of being a doctor? It's important to know the challenges as well as the rewards. Next is cognitive skills. So this is mainly encompassed in admissions tests, like we already spoke about with the UCAT, but also A-levels, GCSEs, things like that. And the final domain that we're looking for is personal attributes and skills. So essentially, if we bring that all into a general overview, is what potential does that student have to become a good doctor? So that's the opportunity to show off, for example, communication skills, empathy, just to name a few, knowledge of ethical dilemmas, lots of different ways to showcase that you've got this. So why should you spend time on the personal statement? Well, 4,000 characters, as I said, but specifically, I've put this under the why should you spend time on it, because that's not a lot of time to put everything you've done so far and the reason why you should be accepted into a medical school in such a short piece of writing. It's going to need one first draft, even if it's bullet points. You're going to have to rewrite it and then write it again. Get someone to read it and then rewrite it again. So it's going to take some time to really get it good. It's a competitive degree. I'm sure everyone's aware medicine's very competitive. Lots of people want to be doctors. So this is one aspect where you need to, well, every aspect we need to be getting as good as we can, but it's one aspect we can really do well on. And it's actually often poorly done. The amount of personal statements that we've seen that actually could have been a lot better, but we've seen them too late to do anything about them. And sometimes it could be the difference between getting a place or not getting a place, or getting an interview offer and not getting an interview offer, depending on the medical school. So it can have some fundamental importance there. And then when we're thinking about these domains again, I've just put kind of where it fits into. So UCAT obviously fits into cognitive skills, but then these other two, we're talking about personal statement and the EPQ, which we'll talk about later, fit both of these sections and are a good way to embellish what you can offer in both of those. So what do we do at Way to Med School? How can we help you with your personal statement? So we offer thorough and detailed reviews of your personal statement once sent to us. 2 expert reviewers go through them. So it's not just one person. We've got 2 going through each one that we get. We'll give feedback within 48 hours of receiving that personal statement. And then we're also going to have a 30-minute one-to-one online session with an expert reviewer to then go through, what did you do well in your personal statement? What can we change? And kind of have a discussion about, how we can make it better. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to tell you what to write. We're going to work with you to get the best out of you, what you can get down to, but that best represents you. All right, so now I'm going to hand over to Akshay just to talk a bit about EPQ.
Thank you. Yes, so the EPQ, you can either do a question or an artifact, but usually within medicine, you're most likely to do a research question, and it counts as an AS level, which is basically half an A level. And a lot of medical schools do kind of like it because it shows that you're interested in medicine as from a research perspective as well, not just as a degree. So my EPQ was about CBT and antidepressants during the course of treating depression and which treatment would be more useful. And I learned a lot of skills while doing my EPQ. So I did referencing and academic writing, and these are skills that I'm kind of taking into uni as well, and I do use it a lot within uni. So I'm currently just finished my first year at Leeds, And we've had to do a lot of research writing and academic writing. And me having done my EPQ was really helpful, as I was able to reference properly and write kind of from a research perspective. So it was really helpful in that sense as well. But so out of your EPQ, you end up with a 5,000 word essay, so a dissertation, but they don't actually look at that completely for all your marking. A lot of the marking is kind of how you planned it, you're referencing what you learned from it. That's a big thing. And also you have to deliver a presentation about it. So it's not just your essay, it's kind of everything as a whole is kind of looked at holistically. But yeah, that's an introduction to the EPQ.
Thank you, Akshay. So I'm now going to go on to talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages of EPQ. So is it worth it? Obviously, it's optional. It's not something you have to do to get into medical school. But we're going to weigh it up and maybe come to a decision at the end. But obviously, the ultimate decision lies with you. But we'll give you all the facts. All right. So advantages first. One that I've not got on here already, but I thought I'd mention before I forget, that Akshay mentioned is helping her already in first year medical school with all the assignments she's already having to do. So, one step ahead to make medical school that bit easier, because it is hard, especially the first year, adjusting. What else? Great evidence to demonstrate initiative and self-motivation. So me talking about the domains earlier, that fits into showing that we've got the motivation and the passion for medicine, if that's the subject we want to do in our EPQ. It's an opportunity to develop your research and analytical skills. So it fits in what Akshay said before. We're improving ourselves ready for that next step, rather than having a steep learning curve when we get to that first year. Could be the difference in the competitive application process. So we'll talk a little bit in a minute about medical schools and what they view of it. However, if you have that extra qualification, that's never going to work against you if you've done well in it. But also gives you something to talk about, one, in your personal statement, but also when you get to interview as well. And obviously, like I said before, it's an additional qualification, which can never be bad. So disadvantages is time consuming. Most things in life that are worth doing can take time because it requires a lot of effort. Obviously, you've got the additional workload as well as your A-levels. So something to consider if you're struggling with A-levels as it is. I'm sure everyone here won't be, but just in case, it might be a bridge too far, perhaps, something to consider. I'd counteract that with perhaps learning good organisation skills and time management. Maybe a good outcome from this additional workload and something you may be able to talk about in interview and personal statement. And the last thing is, not all medical schools consider EPQ in the application process, which I'll talk about in a minute. But what about the medical schools that do consider EPQ? Does it change much? Well, let's have a look. So I started off with Sheffield. I've just cherry-picked these. There's no particular reason why I've gone with these. But so if you have a look at the top, we can see Sheffield's to do medicine, the typical offer is 3 A's, including chemistry or biology. However, if you have an EPQ product with an A or above, actually your grade requirements for A-levels drops to AAB. So an extra incentive to consider that. If, for example, things happen with A-level exams, if for whatever reason, one subject you go down one grade, well, actually we have this back up here. We look at Brighton. I seem to be picking on Brighton, but they have some really good information on their website, so I decided to go with it. Sounds like they're quite exclusive of all of their the EPQ and the personal statement. However, they've said the EPQ are not form part of any offers that they make. However, I have seen about that a student went to interview at Brighton, and they actually discussed the EPQ project at the interview that the student came up with, and they had quite a good discussion about it, and they felt that gave them extra marks in the interview and allowed them to get their place. So something to consider there, despite the fact it's not used in making their offer on paper. And finally, I've looked at Hull York Medical School. So similar to Sheffield, usually 3 A's is required. They've said AAB at A level if you've got that A in EPQ. There is a small caveat to that. It's only if you make them your first choice offer. So if you make them your insurance offer, that won't apply and you'd need the 3 A's. So it's important to have a look on the websites and figure out exactly how the universities are using these. Other ones that do and consider Leicester, Kiel and Queen's Belfast that I've found so far, and that there might be some others. So I'd recommend doing your research on these universities. So how can we help with EPQ? So I hope so far I've kind of given a good outline of why it's important in your application if you do decide to do it, and how it can really make your application pop, make it a lot better, look better on paper, and give you something extra to talk about in your personal statement and your interviews. So how exactly can we help with that? Well, we offer a free 10-minute assessment prior to any registration with us, just to get a baseline of your needs, what ideas you had, and how we can best help you. And then if we decide to go ahead with the mentoring, we offer one-to-one online mentoring with our expert team, right up until that project submission. And usually when you're part of Way to Med School and you've registered with us, we'll be with you throughout, and that's with all of what we offer: UCAT, personal statement, EPQ, interviews, doesn't matter. So that's that for EPQ. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about pricing, probably the bit everyone's been waiting for. So let's start off with the UCAT side of things. So we've already spoken about the different levels. So UCAT Level 1 online course on its own, £300. And the same for the UCAT Level 2 online course, £300 as well. If you wanted to do the bundle of Level 1 and Level 2, you get a discount of £100, so that would be £500 in total. If there's a group of 5 or more students that book together, we can offer both of those courses for £450 per student. If, like Abra, you'd like one-to-one tutoring for UCAT, 1 hour sessions each, we offer that as £100 an hour. Moving on to personal statements reviews. So that'll be £150 for a review. That will include 2 expert reviewers going through the personal statements, and also 30 minutes discussion on Zoom with one of the expert reviewers. And finally, as we just spoke about, the EPQ online mentoring, to be a 1 hour session, would be £100. In terms of our contact details, we've got Dr. Ramesh's details, but this is the Way to Med School email and phone number if you have any questions. And we're currently working on our website to get that up to scratch, and hopefully that will take over our correspondence as well. So I'll hand over now to Carol for any questions and answers.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. That's excellent. Thank you. I'm just trying to access my chat box to access the questions. A moment, please.
We can stop sharing, Ryan, so that people can see the team better. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So how I consider this EPQ is, say, for example, if there is a team which is running for like 400-meter race, those who are doing EPQ are not starting at the starting line. It will give them that 50-meter advantage. So with that sound of the gun, they will be starting with a 50 meters advantage. So they have to run only like 350 meters. So every small little things help. As Dr. Ryan said, the main issue is, do you have enough time for making this EPQ project successful? You need 2 things. You need time, you need a good idea, and you need a good mentoring. Mentoring we can take care. Time you need to build with your availability. That's why lots of discipline and lots of focusing is needed in this coming months till you get a secured seat.
Thank you. At the moment, I can't see any new questions in the chat box. But there was one that's already been responded to by Dr. Zohaib. Would you like to read that one out, please, Dr. Zohaib?
I think that the question was basically about a specific training for verbal reasoning. I think it's already been answered. Yes,
Yes,
we
it
do provide
has.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for that question, if somebody wants more thing, we are quite happy to give a one-to-one teaching only on one subsection. For example, for Abra, we thought that 10 sessions and all the 5 subsections, 2 hours each, that's what we planned. But as we progressed within 3 hours, we come to know she doesn't require much help with the situational judgment, but she may need help in other sections. So we are tailoring it individually. And even though it's a 60-minute section, we are not going to switch off the Zoom on the dot of 60 minutes. We are very flexible. Sometimes it will go 10-15 minutes extra, and we can tailor the time. We can change the time to the children's availability. Of course, in summertime, we can do it even in the daytime itself, so that they have a good quality evening time to read and spend some time with the family.
Thank you. Thank you. At the moment, I can't see any more questions in the chat box, unless anybody has any now that they'd like to put in. No questions coming at all?
There's one question. It's from Jay. Thank you very much, Jay. How much of preparation is recommended before enrolling for level 1 and level 2? I leave it for Dr. Anand to comment on it.
Yeah, I will say start learning quickly. I'm sure most of you may have already enrolled for the exam, so you have access to the actual UCAT website's small mini videos on the 5 sections and questions, and also even the mock exam. Nothing wrong in trying one mock exam, but the problem in using the mock exam in the early days is obviously it will show a very bad score since you have not prepared and you are just going for a mock exam. And then later, if you want to do a proper mock exam, if you do the same exam, you won't have that feeling of doing it in a very fresh atmosphere. You feel as if the questions are known to you. And that's why go through the UCAT papers. And if it is something which is very familiar to you, if your brain really syncs with what is asked for, you don't need any preparation. Level 1 you can join straight away, and that will give you a nice basement, and there is a week or 2 gap between the level 1 and level 2. You can read and make sure that you are up to the level, and level 2 will give you like a icing on the cake and make you absolutely ready for the exam. For some children, level 1, level 2 will give all the gaps filled up. Like this session, we will give a good amount of time for both the days for the children to ask any questions, and we will try not to repeat the answers. If 2 children are asking similar questions, we will try to answer it in combo, and we'll make sure that everybody is addressed and everybody is going home without much doubts. That's an idea for level 1 and level 2. You can take level 1 in July and level 2 in August, nothing wrong in it, but end of the day, make sure that you are registering correctly and make sure that you are utilizing things fully. At any stage, if you feel that this group class is not enough, say for example, one candidate asked about the verbal reasoning, they may find that all other 4 sections are absolutely beautiful, but only this verbal reasoning, they're not able to get into the nuances of it. Just book for even 1 or 2 hours of one-to-one. We'll focus only on verbal reasoning. As I said, the one-to-one is completely tailored on an individual student's basis. So that is more than enough. End of the day, what you need, how many sessions you need, it's very difficult to answer. It's all very individual.
Thank you very much. That's a really helpful response. Hopefully that helps to clarify the situation. The next question I have in my chat box, it says, will 8 weeks of preparation be sufficient if one starts from scratch?
8 weeks, yeah, 8 weeks is a good average, I will say, because I've seen people who have done the whole thing within 4 to 6 weeks. But those who have done within 4 weeks and got a very good mark, which in my definition is anything more than 3,000, it means in general they are quite good. Say for example, even in the 11 plus they did very well in the verbal reasoning, they did very well in that clerical aptitude test and those things. So for those who got that ability already, 4 to 6 weeks is more than enough. 8 weeks I will say is adequate. But if somebody is suffering, we should not feel bad. We are here to help. So try to start reading straight away and try to book your exam in September. So make your life comfortable so that extra breathing time what you have, you can focus on the personal statement and EPQ also.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. That's really helpful. I think it's all about prepare, isn't it? And giving so the student has as much time as they possibly can to prepare and practice. Thank you.
I think Krish has a question. Thank you, Krish. You asked the question, does the exam becomes gradually tough as it moves from July to September end?
In my view, no, I don't think so, because the exams are starting in July and finishing in September to give students a kind of a variety of days, so that it's just like booking for the driving exam. We don't want driving exam to happen just once in a month, or Life in UK exam to happen once in a month. The questions will be automatically selected, computerized, and so if somebody is taking exam, say for example August 20th morning 8 to 10, 2 hours, if two people are sitting in the same center next to each other, the questions may be entirely different. So the questions will be randomly selected on the day, and it's very difficult or very rare for questions to be unfortunately very tough for a person and easy for another person. There will be a mixture of both tough and easy question. That's why, as I said, one of the main mentoring reason is to identify the tough questions and leave them so that you can focus on the easy questions and focus on the medium questions to get the best out of it.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Again, really good advice, and hopefully that helped to answer that question and give clarification and guidance. I think, sometimes you can never hear it quite enough times in this preparation process. At the moment, I haven't got any further questions in my chat box.
There is a question from Ramya which asks like one-to-one online tutoring for UCAT, how many hours? If you are asking in general, I will say 10 hours, because 2 hours for every subsection of the UCAT. But say for example, like one of the aspirant in the chat box, if they are happy in 4 sections, studying only in verbal reasoning, nothing wrong in having just 2 to 3 hours only for verbal reasoning alone. That's more than enough. So we are here and we are catering to the individual need. That's the beauty of the one-to-one.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
Feel free to ask directly. No need to type.
Okay, all right. Yes, thank you.
Anand, that's really helpful. Do we have any more questions that we'd like to put in the chat box, please?
And Ryan, would you mind just sharing the last slide so that people who need can take a note of the phone number and email address? And please feel free to contact. Even we are available just for a friendly chat to see if you have any questions and if you have anything to answer, so that it's not like you will be charged from the first second of reaching us. We are here to only to help. But having said that, when we are doing a proper focused teaching, we wish to make it more formal. We wish to make it very useful for the child.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm sure most of you will be in the Way to Med School parent group. If somebody is not, feel free to contact this mobile number so that you can be added to the group. Even if your child is doing well, as long as you are in the group, you will get some information, and we are quite happy in helping any specific questions. And because some children may need help, a lot of children are quite self-learning. Even the parent don't know what the child is doing. So it's all quite individual.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. So that the final slide there, as you say, that's showing our contact details, and please do get in touch. Sort of aware of the time now, and I think that very nicely brings us to the closure of the session. So, hopefully we very much hope that our session has been full of really valuable information for you. That's really helped to give a general perspective of things. And if you have any queries or questions, please do get back in touch. But meanwhile, I'd just like to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. They were really interesting, good questions. And we hope that the answers provide some clarity. So thank you from us all at Way to Med School. Bye-bye for now.
Sorry, Carol, one more last thing.
Yes, sorry.
In the schedule, we put it was as apologies. We had a wrong date in it. So it should be 13th of July and 27th of July, and 3rd of August and 17th of August.
Yeah.
So July 13, 1, 3 and 27, 2, 7. August 3 and then August 17, 1, 7. Thank you. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. That's really very helpful. I think that closes our session. So once again, thank you to all for joining. Bye-bye for now.
Bye and best wishes for all the students appearing.